So the buff that happened to Minotaur is mostly for himself, and the trade-off is the factors that help in team fights. The ability to heal all allies in his base form was removed, and now Minotaur can only heal himself and one nearby ally with the lowest HP. But when he's in his ultimate form, just like before, his second skill can heal all nearby allies. Although the healing effect slightly increased, his ultimate's airborne duration was reduced. Now, the knock-up effect is a lot shorter since it's also affected by tough boots. But for me, that's fine because you can still follow up with his first skill anyway, which is what most players do. They don't wait for enemies to fall to the ground before using the first skill. The slow effect of his ultimate was also increased, so it's not that big of a deal. And before, I think in Minotaur's ultimate form, using his second skill also increased his ally's hybrid defense. That effect is gone now. The second skill only provides healing to allies, all nearby in ultimate form, one ally in base form. So yeah, the one that really got nerfed is his second skill. If you ask me though, it's still fine because in exchange, Minotaur's survivability increased. Now he can frontline better thanks to his passive. When you use a skill, you recover 6% to 20% of the damage you receive as HP, depending on your level, and that effect doubles when you use your ultimate. Up to 40% of the damage received can be converted to HP regen. Of course, Lifebane items can reduce it, but there are also items that can increase it, like Oracle and Flask of the Oasis. For me, those two are must-have items for Minotaur. If you also use the support emblem, all of that combined increases your HP regen by up to 54%, 30% from Oracle, and 12% each from Flask of the Oasis and the support emblem. And if you really want to go all out, choose Revitalize as your battle spell since it boosts your HP regen by 20%. But in these games, I used Flicker to reach enemies when setting up fights. However, while editing this video, I realized that Revitalize might actually be better for Minotaur right now, so I think I'll just make another video about it later on. Although using Minotaur in solo ranked games is really challenging, especially for heroes that are playmakers or setters, because you never know if your teammates can follow up when you engage. Heroes that are strong in team fights are very hard to use in solo ranked games since most players just do their own thing. And good communication, which we don't have in solo queue, is really needed. There's also no chemistry or even instinct to follow up right away when your tank initiates. Although to be fair, many tanks also dive in too deep when setting plays. Some even start fights too far away from their teammates. I think Minotaur's ultimate is super helpful during team fights, but the cooldown is really long. That's why I tried building fleeting time on him in one of my games, but it wasn't as effective as I expected. The thing is, while Minotaur is in his ultimate form, his ultimate doesn't start its cooldown during its duration, and Fleeting Time's passive won't affect it if you get a kill or assist while in ultimate form. It's similar to Angela's ultimate right now. While she's on an ally, her ultimate doesn't go on cooldown, so Fleeting Time doesn't work either. It's really a shame because I honestly think Fleeting Time could make Minotaur an absolute monster if it worked on his ultimate. When you're playing tank, you really need to pay attention to your teammates' positioning before setting up a play. Check if they're close enough or too far so you won't end up wasting your setup or getting punished for it. But anyway, if you've noticed how this Eve uses her ultimate in this game, it's honestly so annoying to watch and it hurts to see. I don't even use Eve, but I already feel frustrated. I can't imagine how actual Eve users must feel seeing how this Eve uses her ultimate. As far as I know, when you use Eve's ultimate, you can either swipe or tap within its range. Swiping is easier, but it deals less damage and has weaker slow effects, so it's actually better to use the tap method. Or you can swipe for around 30% of the time and use tap for the rest, especially when all enemies are within your ultimate's range. Again, I don't really use Eve, so I might be wrong, but that's how I understand and see how it should be used. That's why watching this Eve just makes me shake my head and scratch my head every time I see how she uses her ultimate. When I was playing this, I really wanted to yell at her, and even now, just watching this video makes me want to. But she wouldn't hear me anyway, so never mind. If she ever watches this, she'd realize just how clueless she was in this game. By the way, This is the emblem I used on him, and I think it's really effective for Minotaur. I also feel like this build pattern really suits him. In this game, I went tough boots, but in my next game, I'll go magic boots, which I think is better because all of Minotaur's skills are really strong and important. As I said, his ultimate cooldown is very long, and with these boots you get 10% CDR, so with this item and emblem build, you can reach 40% CDR. First core item, Dominance Ice. The new passive and attributes are great, especially in the early game. Maybe you were rushing Flask of the Oasis, that's why your Minotaur is squishy in the early game. You can make it your second core item, then Oracle. This build pattern is a solid item setup, and if you trust me, I promise it will be one of the best for Minotaur. The last two items should depend on your enemies. Focus on countering whoever is giving you trouble or who can burst you down. So in this game, I did the same thing I did in my first game earlier, revealing the enemies to get gold and EXP immediately. But the thing is, I was forced to use my recall technique early. There's a Florin and Harley on the enemy team again, and in the EXP lane, their Yujin was matched up against an Argus. But you know what? Argus might actually be one of the best damage fighters that can also be very useful in team fights. He can deal tons of damage while also tanking a lot with his ultimate. It's really strong if you can maximize his ultimate properly. Let Argus soak up all the enemy's damage while his ult is active, and then once his ultimate is about to end, that's your cue to move forward and front line. That way, you both maximize his ult and transition smoothly into your own setup. Minotaur is such a great tank because he has healing, tankiness, and crowd control. Everything you could ask for in a roamer is already combined in him. That's why he's such a solid hero, especially now with this buff if you know how to maximize what he can do. But yeah, he's still very challenging to use in solo ranked games. Maybe we'll see him in the pro scene, but I still think he'll be a situational pick. Gusion was also absolutely solid in this game. Just look at what he's about to do here. I was actually being pretty nice in this game since I went all out supporting my teammates, giving them the right heals, blocking damage for them like this, and even saving them despite seeing the dumb mistakes they made. That's what a solid roamer does. But there's only so much I can do, especially when they start playing on their own and running far away from me. Some of them just love diving in 1v4 or 1v5 like they're invincible. Even Batman couldn't save them in that situation. That's also what's annoying when you're using heroes like this. Instead of staying close so you can heal them, they always move away from you. And instead of waiting for you to set up, they dive in alone. They'll jump in before you even start the fight. And the result? They die for nothing. This should have been a great save, but there was no notification from Mobile Legends. What a shame. But that part was actually funny. I think both Harley and Argus thought Argus was going to die in that situation. Anyway, Flask of the Oasis was a huge help there. The second skill's heal from Minotaur becomes even stronger when either his HP or his ally's HP is low, so the timing made the heal much more effective. But Harley managed to redeem himself in this part. I honestly never thought Argus could die like that. It turns out Harley is actually a great counter to Argus if you time his ultimate properly. You can stack your combo like that, and Argus won't even notice it until his ultimate duration ends. And even if his HP is full, he'll still end up dying. Natan was so dumb here. Instead of running in the opposite direction, away from the enemy base, he went toward it, basically letting the enemies catch up and kill him. He actually could have survived, but he decided to use his ultimate forward. Like, what the heck was that move? First it was the Eve, and now it's this marksman. I told you, there's only so much I can do. You can't heal your teammate's stupidity. And there's another one. They just suddenly jump forward only to end up dying like that. I was insanely tanky here. Harley couldn't even bring my HP down to half even with his ultimate fully stacked. And that's without radiant armor. That's how tanky you can get against a Harley now. Well, it also helps that I was ahead in levels compared to everyone, even though I was the roamer. That's why being a roamer feels so good right now. It's actually possible for you to end up having the highest level in gold, even higher than your teammates and the enemies. Something that used to be impossible before. What about you? What do you think about this Minotaur update? Do you think it's good or bad? Comment down below your thoughts and I'll make sure to read them. And if you've reached this far and still haven't subscribed, what are you even doing, bro? Subscribe. It's free.